Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Fair Game. We're on episode 4 of our Impossible Mission 2 NES run. For this particular episode, I took the liberty of going slightly further ahead than normal, mostly because I wanted to scout something, and unfortunately it turns out I was right. The hardest safe room in the game, to the best of my knowledge, is right ahead of us. So difficult, in fact, that I didn't know how to do it as a child, but I absolutely know how to do it now. To get all the items in this room, you will need to die at least 3 to 4 times. To get everything, we actually have to take advantage of the fact that items that we queue up remain in our inventory until we use them. To start with, we're going to grab a landmine. We're actually going to need it. I've noticed that we have a surfeiture of landmines right now, so we're going to be using them a lot more going forward, because why the hell not? The mine itself will be used for taking out the sentry bot, but here's how we deal with the rest of the room. Do you remember what I said earlier about items remaining active even if you die? This room is a vicious wake-up call to everyone who didn't know that. Your main goals are to get everything, obviously, but also to get to that terminal on the right. First thing we do once we reach it, use a platform override. The platform override will permanently get rid of the other sentry bot and make sure that we can search that area without fail later. The second and third thing, which can be done in any order, is to grab a time bomb and use a deactivator, before killing ourselves on purpose and returning to the start of the room. Then, while the robots are still deactivated, you use the time bomb to blow the safe, search the safe, and hopefully get out of there with just enough time before the bash bot reactivates. If the bash bot does reactivate, you gotta start the whole process over again from scratch. Once we acquire the contents of the safe, all we have to do is make our way to the right and then to the left, land on the platform that moved back because we died, and search the last 2 items. With all that done, the plans come together and you successfully cleared this room with only 3 lives lost. You're welcome. That right there is the biggest difference between young Jaimas and current Jaimas. Current Jaimas gets stuff done. But we're not fully done yet, are we? No, we have to head back out into the hallway and check our tape recorder to make sure that the piece that we got wasn't a duplicate. Idly, one thing I really love about the interface in Impossible Mission 2 is the microcomputer that you have. From the map to the code-breaking device, everything is right at your fingertips. It's really useful. Anyway, let's give a listen to what we got so far. So with this, we have 4 pieces of music. There's only 2 left that we need to get. Unfortunately, there's also 4 towers to go through. An equally big problem is that while we did optimize that particular extraction, we still burnt a lot of time doing it. Needless deaths are obviously the quickest way to game over in Impossible Mission 2. Though, interestingly, it's about half as punishing as it is in Impossible Mission 1. In Impossible Mission 1, you had 6 hours and each death cost you 10 minutes. Which, on average, I'd say gave you about 30 tries before your run was really in jeopardy. In Impossible Mission 2, you have 8 hours and each death costs you 5 minutes. Which doesn't really mean that you can afford to screw around, but it does mean that you can die a lot more before your run's absolutely in jeopardy. The biggest problem in Impossible Mission 2, however, is the very last room. I'll talk about it more when we actually, get there, but the tower core itself has one final challenge to present to the player. Only one of the supercomputer consoles will actually shut off the system. The other 2 consoles are decoys, and they are designed to kill you if you try to use them. Now, the ending for Impossible Mission 2 is very, very short. A couple of seconds. However, I will go on to say that it is pretty damn memorable. I am not going to ruin the surprise. Odds are very high you will not guess what it is. Unfortunately for us, a lot of the rooms that we're entering right now are either really easy to die in or require mandatory deaths to navigate. We're running the risk of falling behind, and we really can't afford to. The final room is relatively easy, but it's always better to have a cushion at both ends. On the other hand, one thing I have noticed is that we seem to have acquired a lot of code numbers from the items so far, as opposed to other drops. That might work to our favor. We're gonna come back to that. Oh, damn it, it's this room. I had just finished complaining about rooms that require mandatory deaths, and this is one of them. This room mandatorily requires at least 2 lives to get everything, occasionally 3. Searching the deactivated robot on the left will take at least 1 life, and searching the rest of the room with the deactivator will generally take another. Sometimes you get really lucky and you can do it in one, but that's rare. With the deactivator engaged, all we gotta do is search the rest of the items in the room, and hopefully do it as quickly as possible so that the robots don't reactivate before we have the opportunity to get out of there. I've always been fond of this game, but good God can it be a stress ball on occasion. I remember a young Jaimas not realizing that the game was procedurally generated, or that the tower you started was randomized, or that the pieces of music in the safes were also randomized, tried to map out the entire fortress using graph paper, only to realize during a second playthrough that absolutely nothing matched. And you know what? We're gonna try something stupid right now. In the last few rooms, we picked up a lot of codebreaker numbers. We're kind of doing a skill shot here, but there is the possibility that we got all the ones we needed already. And since we already got the safe, we may as well take our opportunity to try to cut our losses and see what we can do about that. Well then, that got us right back within our time window. We've successfully made our way through Tower 8, and we're now on our way to Tower 1 now. Tower 1 is where the gymnasiums and exercise equipment are kept. So stay tuned for next episode, and I hope we get this lucky next time.